Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We will start our session soon. We are just waiting for participants and all speakers to join before we start the sessions. And yeah, so yeah, welcome to GNDR Global Summit. On the third day, we will have a sessions on the role of faith in DRR and development. And yeah, just a housekeeping informations. If you need interpretations, you can click this interpretations button, and you can play the audio based on the language that you prefer. And don't forget to mute the stage audio so that you can hear the interpretations. And for now, it's only the speaker that joined the stage, but later in the discussions, we will invite you to join the stage for Q&A or discussions after the speakers presentations. Yes, and for today, okay. Sorry, Peter, are you in the participants link? Maybe you can try to join the stage.
Yes. Now, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, great.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. I think we're just waiting for Jonah. He's not here yet. Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, for these sessions, we will have Jonah Taylor from Tearfund. Oh, sorry. That will join us soon, I believe. Yes, Jonah Taylor is the humanitarian policy advisor of Tearfund. And today's sessions, we will have three speakers with us, Peter Jakobsson, Nobuyuki Asai, and also Atallah FitzGibbon. Okay, yeah, Jonah is here. Welcome.
Hello.
Yes.
Sorry, I had
Yeah.
a technical difficulty, but I'm with you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Good to see
Yeah,
you.
so
Good to see you, everyone.
yes. All right. So for these sessions, this session is aimed to facilitate knowledge sharing sessions from members to members to share learning and good practices in resilience building, especially in promoting the invaluable role of faith-based organizations and local faith communities in DRR and climate change adaptations. And as we know that FBO and local faith communities hold significant influence and trust among those living in vulnerable community in most at-risk communities, and of course because the faith-based organizations are deeply embedded in the local communities. And in these sessions, we will hear how the FPO and the local faith communities collaborate and create enabling environment for innovations, policy dialogue in DRR and development. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that these sessions will be moderated by Jonah, the humanitarian policy advisor of Tearfund. So without further delay, I would like to invite Jonah to introduce himself and start to facilitate the sessions. Over to you, Jonah.
Thank you very much, Happy. Great to see you all. Do keep posting your comments in the chat. Really encouraged to see so many of you join and to have this discussion. My name is Jonah. I work for Tearfund, Tearfund works in about 50 countries, and we are a Christian NGO, and so we work with a lot of local churches in those 50 countries, and we really see the benefit of engaging those believing communities, engaging with their faiths, and connecting with those faiths when we talk about preparedness, when we talk about climate adaptation, because only by connecting with them and listening to them and their beliefs are we able to really be effective. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm delighted to be joined by an excellent group of speakers, and this is part of a wider piece where there are movements going on across the sector to bring together faith-based organizations and non-faith-based organizations, secular organizations, as many of you are from, to think about how do we work with faith communities. So we are hopefully going to be launching within the platform, within the GNDR platform, a specific group on faith in DRR. And I spend a lot of my time also working here in the UK with a similar group called the Faith and Development Working Group. So we're really encouraged that this is becoming a broader conversation. So we're going to have 3 speakers, and then at the end, hopefully, we'll have some time for some quick questions as well. So first, as our first speaker, I'd like to introduce Petter. Petter is the Senior Advisor for Religion and Development at SMC, Faith in Development Sweden, and he led the process with the development of the faith-based organization's joint statement in 2025. So that's where this has come from. And Petter, I think you're going to speak for us now a bit more about that process. Oh, you're on mute, Petter. Can you unmute yourself, or do we need to?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to try to share my screen. And thank you for the introduction. This is always
Peter, you can, sorry, maybe I should stop sharing and then you click the open share menu. Yes.
Yes. Can you see my slide right now?
Yes. You just need to put it in a slide view.
Okay, because it's always complicated. Is this better? Can you see it as one slide?
I can't.
No, we still see but it's visible.
I'll try something like this. Is it visible?
No, I think you should start again, open share menu again and select the slide again, because it stopped sharing for now.
Okay.
I can see it now.
Yeah. Hopefully, at least you can see my slides, even if you can see the slides on the side. I won't waste more time on this. Well, thank you very much. To give you a little bit of a background, as you probably know and have noticed, there are quite a large number of the GNDR members are faith-based. And still, it has been a bit of a blind spot as it often is within development or humanitarian work, that faith-based actors are a bit like the elephant in the room. They're there, they're quite visible, but we don't quite talk about it. So to raise the issue and to make people aware of the particularities of faith-based organizations, or their special role, or their what kind of creatures they are. There's been at the various global platforms within GNDR, already in Geneva in 2019, ACT Alliance promoted a statement, and further on in Bali in 2022, Tearfund, the organization Jonah represents, made a great job of highlighting and creating this this faith-based organization statement, and then SMC, which is a Swedish umbrella organization organizing both missionary and development and humanitarian organizations with the Christian base in Sweden, took the work further. And in Geneva last year at the global platform, some 20-some organizations signed this statement, and I think the statement will be shared in the chat during this workshop. And we somehow had a very good conversation, and in the GNDR's call to action from the platform last year in Geneva, there's a quote: "There is also a need to recognize the specific role that faith-based organizations and networks could play in strengthening disaster risk reduction." So it was clearly we created an awareness of the special role of faith-based organizations. And at SMC, we often talk about religious literacy, and religious literacy, it's not knowing the name of prophets or Bible verses or the ethos of Buddhism or such, but it's more of a mindset or an awareness of this special particular role that religion or religious actors play in a given context. So we don't refer to it as I said, knowing the name of a prophet or Bible verses, but being prepared to ask the right questions when you approach a specific context, and be aware of that faith actors could have a very great impact in that situation. And if you come from a secular background, you might not even have the knowledge to ask the right questions, and that's where religious literacy starts, to be able to ask those questions and get in line with the reality on the ground. Of course, a lot of you know the example that I like to share. When it's now an old example, when the tsunami hit almost 20 years ago or so, the secular UK-based organization Oxfam found very quickly that villages or towns in Indonesia that were severely affected by the tsunami, the ones that were there was money to build up a church if it was a Christian community, or a mosque if it was a Muslim community. When there was money to reconstruct that place of worship and social life and gathering, those communities got back on track a lot faster than the communities that didn't get such a house or place for worship. And I think it was quite challenging for a secular organization to realize that building a church was maybe one of the best things they could do with their money. And the world is complex, as we know, extremely complex. And faith actors are complex too. We know that that within the same denomination, within the same religion, views could differ a lot when it comes to values, family, law, ethos, social involvement. and you need to know your religious actors. Who are they? How do they act or react in a given context? And to be honest, faith actors are sometimes some of the weirdest people to cooperate with, but you cannot avoid them because they are there, and to be able to cooperate with those people that might have a very different standard, a very different set of values than you have, you must learn to talk to them and ask the right questions and realize their importance in the context. So religion motivates. We know that beyond politics, beyond policy making, what makes people move or do or act comes to these soft values that we used to call them soft values, like ethos or morale or faith. Faith, the stories, the narratives that are shared within faith. I believe that those values are not soft; they're strong values. Because if you want to change the behavior of large portions of the population, you must get to the source of their ethos or their narrative that creates who they are or how they act. I love this picture. It's a forest around a church in Ethiopia, and it's been there for hundreds of years. And it was saved you see, the rest of the landscape is barren, but it was saved since hundreds of years ago as a theological statement about that the fullness of creation should be present around the church. And today we see that those sometimes large, sometimes small forests around churches are extremely important for biodiversity, for example. So faith can provide this narrative or this ethos that goes way beyond and is a lot stronger than the impact of science or policies. And of course, we like, as a faith-based organization, we love the idea of saying how good we are, how what a wonderful network we have, and we're usually there before things happen. We're there when things happen, and we stay after things has happened. There's been a disaster or so, because faith actors are a part of the local communities. There are surveys that have shown that poor people in the world, or what we sometimes call marginalized people, have much larger trust in faith leaders than in politicians. And faith leaders are very often having the voice of communities in a way that no other communities can have, for better, for worse. And as I said, faith actors are sometimes the most complicated, sometimes the best friends, sometimes the worst friends, sometimes values that are foreign to whoever you are, sometimes having values that are aligned with your goals. But you need to be what we call literate, religious literate, to be able to talk and cooperate and work together with and reach people. So I should not paint the rosy pictures of cooperation with faith actors, but a necessary picture of working together with faith actors. And I also like to raise the word of instrumentalization, because there is a risk of, particularly based on the idea that faith actors love to talk about their own virtues, how good we are, how efficient we are. It's very easy that secular donors or secular organizations see faith actors as loyal megaphones for their own values or messages. if it's the Swedish SIDA or German GIZ or any other secular government-led funder, they love to think of faith actors as conveyors of their agenda. But that position is also challenged by religious literacy. You need part of that literacy is to understand that faith actors have their own agendas in their own right. You can cooperate with faith actors, you can work together with them, but they will never totally adapt to your agenda, because they have their own goals, they have their own sets of values, and you need to learn about those values, and you need to draw your own red lines where who can we cooperate with and who can we not. But you need to be informed to draw those red lines in a good and constructive way. So very short, religious literacy is, as we see it as at SMC, is a capacity for all to do a good job in a given context or a certain context. It doesn't have to do with your own faith. It doesn't have to do if you're interested in faith or not. It has to do with your ability to work and function in a specific context. You need to improve your religious literacy concerning that context. And at the SMC webpage, we have a just recently updated resource material for any organization that like to work with religious literacy on a general level, on a contextual level, and on a practical level. And we have resource materials for workshops from 1 hour to a week about that could be very useful as you enter into a new region, a new project, a new situation. Some very practical hints on how you can prepare yourself and educate yourself on religious literacy. So this was a little bit of a background, going back to the very fundamentals of religion and development and the role of faith actors. And at the end, I think there is a question.
That's right, Petter. We'll have time to ask questions and have a bit of discussion at the end, if that's all right.
Yes. Yeah. So the question that I will like to send to that session is that in the very practical life, what challenges have you experienced working with faith actors, and what solutions, what practical solutions have you seen? So challenges and solutions from your perspective. So
thank you, Petter.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do be mulling that question over in your minds, thinking, about those challenges you might face. I'm now going to hand over to Nobi to speak. He's joining us from Japan, I believe, so it's quite late, but he's very kindly agreed to speak. So Nobuyuki Asai is the Director for Sustainable Development and Humanitarian Affairs for Soka Gakkai International in Japan. And he is serving as a focal point of Japan's CSO coalition for DRR. So Nobi, you're gonna come in perhaps with a bit more of with Tearfund and SMC have a bit more of the Christian side of things, but I think hopefully we're going to get a bit more Buddhist perspective from you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jonah. Good morning and good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm Nobuyuki Asai from Soka Gakkai International, and Hippie, could you share my presentation? So, as Jonah explained, we are a Buddhist organization, and particularly from the Mahayana tradition. And our origin is in Japan, but nowadays we have membership or branches in many parts of this world, but mainly particularly in Eastern world, Southeastern Asian countries. Membership is larger, and we promote disaster relief activity as well. And today I'd like to highlight the recovery phase, among others. So we at the relief stage, we often conduct relief activity through voluntary members, and also we provide our centers as shelter when big disasters happen. But today I'd like to highlight the recovery stage. And oh, Happy, could you share my presentation? Or I wonder. I can
Sorry, Nobu, I have shared the screen. Can you see it?
Okay.
I can see it. Happy.
No?
Nobu, can
Oh,
you?
yeah. Yes.
Oh, really?
Okay,
I
Nobu.
can't see it. Oh, how? Yes.
If you've got the slides in front of you, maybe you could just tell us which slide you want Happy to show, and then.
Yeah. Yeah. Just sorry. Just one please. Oh, it's coming now. Sorry, my laptop is not working well. So
Nobu, maybe if you can just switch off your camera for a while because it seems there is some internet connectivity issue at your end.
okay, so please move to the third page, the light blue page, please.
Yes, now.
It says
Okay.
concert series Bonds of
Yeah,
Heart.
thank you so much. So I'd like to. Thank you so much. Yeah. So we are conducting a concert series in order to encourage disaster victims, and we have some musical groups like choir or orchestra groups, and we dispatch them to the disaster areas. And the table is slightly old, but the number is this table is the number of the concerts that were held. And the trigger was the 2011 big earthquake and tsunami in the Tohoku region or northeastern part of Japan. And after that, we decided to promote this concert. And many main venues or public halls or recreation rooms in the disaster temporary housings and our own centers. And the audience includes both our members and others, their friends or neighbors. And in case of the choir, about 50 members visit the area, and they are occasionally divided into 2 to 4 smaller groups and organize smaller concerts. It's more closer to the audience, and it's receiving very positive feedback. And next page, please. And the content of the concert are like pops or classical songs in the area and Soka Gakkai songs. And the conductor challenging corner is included in the program. And comical performance imitating well-known singers or such attractive performance is also made. And move to the next page. So it's about psychosocial care after disaster. It's a general view. So move to the three page 8. The effect in the recovery of communities. Okay, so we have conducted some researches or surveys about these concerts, and we did some questionnaire to the audience, and the questionnaire responses indicate that the concert series occasionally gave a trigger for the victims who tended to be depressed or lose hope to rise up for the recovery of their own areas. In some cases, the number of the audience reached around 30% of the whole residents in the area, which was quite unusual. And this abundance was interpreted by the audience as a proof of the recovery progress. And it brought about a forward-looking view towards the future. And as you know, in the FBO joint statement, there's a one phrase that's building. It's a role of the faith-based organization in DRR, and it said that building communities, FBOs serve as door openers to local engagement, facilitating community-led initiatives, and strengthening social cohesion. So we really feel that this concert series is serving as this point. And next page, please. It's about concert mixing with evacuation drill. So just in addition to the recovery phase activity, uh, last year for the first time we conducted the concert with the meaning of the evacuation drill. So it was held at a place where a big tsunami is considered to attack in some years or in a decade. And usually, so evacuation drills are taking place in many parts of this country. But as you can imagine, only kind of limited people join, and people with disabilities or younger people are not interested in vacation drill and they do not come. But in order to attract more people, we combine concert and evacuation drill, so more people came, and it was really meaningful to the local community. And next page, please. And this is a completely different project. It's called Fukushima Phoenix Project. So as you know, due to the nuclear power plant accident, some hundreds of thousands of people were forced to evacuate from the area, and about 3,000 members of our organization were included in the evacuees. And local leaders of our Soka Gakkai formed a group of the evacuee members and continued to give encouragement to individual members through events or letters or publications and home visits. And such encouragement helped the members rise up again in the new environment and community. And next page, please. It's about religious rituals. So, yeah, we have conducted a lot of memorial ceremonies and so on. And those ceremonies or rituals also served as a very good opportunity for the victims to reflect what happened and think about their lost family members or friends, and to rise up again by themselves, because many of them became depressed and lost hope. But such religious rituals had a big meaning for them. So next page, please. It's the FBO joint statement. So mainly there were 9 or 10 points in the statement, and these three are relevant to our activity. I really feel so. The first is the second point: acknowledge the need for religious literacy among policymakers, understanding the role of FBO and religion in any given context. Number 5 is FBOs and LFCs, local faith communities, can influence community values and behaviors in risk management, disaster anticipation, and mitigation. And point 9 is involve FBOs and LFCs in community mobilization and capacity building to bridge the gap between resilience strengthening policies and the practical implementation. So these points are really relevant to our own activity. And move to the next page. And finally, I'd like to mention our interface initiative in Japan. So nowadays, particularly after 2011 earthquake and tsunami, many religious organizations or temples or churches have, or leaders of those groups have conducted disaster relief activity or recovery activity, and they started to form a network, and also academics joined, and this platform or this project was launched, and it has held meetings several times per year, and participants exchange their own experiences and lessons. And the network of religious organizations makes it easier to have a dialogue with the national and local governments. The topics include emergency relief and shelter providing and psychosocial care. So in Japan, the principle of the separation of church and state is too strict. So for some local authorities or some secular NGOs, they are very often reluctant to collaborate with faith-based organizations, or they tend to think that they cannot collaborate with us because they think that it's illegal. But of course, it's not illegal. And interface network can promote dialogue with different stakeholders. And the statement also said that FBOs and interface networks can share best practices across faith and national boundaries. So we really feel that, and we'd like to promote that more. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nobi. Really appreciate that. And I'll come back to you after, when we come to the question time, if that's all right, to share your question. So now I'm going to hand over to Atallah. Atallah has worked on local and economic and social development policy and work both in the public and voluntary sectors here in the UK with me and overseas. And he's been at Islamic Relief Worldwide for the last 25 years. And he is currently their Faith and Partnerships Advisor. So hopefully, Atallah, we'll be able to balance out the Christian and Buddhist side of the conversation and bring an Islamic perspective as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jonah. And thanks for the invitation to be part of this. Islamic Relief Worldwide has realized for a long time now that the social, spiritual, physical, and financial capability of local faith communities are probably the largest asset we have in terms of disaster risk reduction. And there are perhaps three main areas where we've worked on this. One is on conflict, because obviously in much of the Muslim world, it's Muslims live within interfaith and interracial contexts, and conflict is always a risk in terms of creating disasters. And we've worked, in fact, with Tearfund and other Christian and Jewish organizations and secular organizations on programs around enabling interfaith understanding and cooperation and collaboration. The other area has been health, where, in the major health disasters we've had recently, emergencies we've had recently, like Ebola and COVID, faith ended up being a major component around creating understanding of how to adapt faith practice, how to adapt faith teaching and jurisprudence, etc., to deal with these pandemics. And then the third area is around environmental collapse, and this is the area I'm going to focus on briefly with the case study. Now, I think the critical component is context and understanding the context in each particular setting. I think the social capital of communities can ensure that they're valuable in all settings, whether it's secular, whether it's European, whether it's in the global south. But particularly now, with the onset of climate change, we have these rapid onset disasters which affect large numbers of population in very populous and huge countries like Indonesia, with a population of around 300 million people, and other such countries. So the potential of climate disasters to cause very large-scale disasters and fast onset disasters is huge. And this is one of the areas where Islamic Relief has concentrated on. So in Indonesia, and it's interesting, Peter mentioned Indonesia, one of the things we learned from the tsunami and other disasters in Indonesia was that people, that faith and faith communities actually represent, and this is the same for a lot of other islands in the Pacific and South Pacific, represent the major component of civil society. And there tends to be a congregation around places of worship and where there's earthquake, liquefaction, tsunamis, or floods. Often the actual places of worship represent very useful places to congregate and provide protection. So one of the things that our team in Indonesia had realized is that actually local faith actors are quite alienated from the humanitarian development community. They don't have the skills, understandably, or the knowledge on how to respond. But also in these huge countries, the local government and government cannot possibly have the resources to be able to deal with these responses. They're enormous. And so in coordination and partnership with the government's own disaster management agency, Islamic Relief have had 3 iterations of a program which is called Deepening the Role of Faith Actors in Community-Based Disaster Risk Reduction. And it involves 4 main components. One is sensitizing the community to the risks, and particularly the faith actors. And then the joint collaboration and planning with them and the disaster management agencies about how they can form a critical component in response. And that's normally, in the first sort of 2 to 3 days where people escape their houses, they congregate in places of worship, they're provided first aid and other care there, and food and collective support. And then evacuation is provided to hospitals and other secondary sites for accommodation. And so the programs work over about 3 years, 2 to 3 years, and they start with sensitization and then joint planning, and then training, equipping, and then simulation exercises, which are done jointly with the local government to ensure they're actually needed. They've been, I just came back actually in November last year from an evaluation of our last program, and it was extremely interesting. We worked, Indonesia is very much a multi-faith environment, so our programs equally worked with Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Catholic, and other Christian denominations, and Confucian community, and included actually developing faith-based resources to build faith literacy amongst faith actors so that they could include messaging within sermons, utilizing religious texts and other teachings, and then those had to be sort of translated into local languages, including Chinese in the case of the Confucian community. There was a lot of learning emerged. I'm not sure I got time to go into it all, but one of the interesting things was that actually each place of worship had to provide care for the other faith communities as well. So interestingly, and this happens a lot in multi-faith societies, is that communities become quite compartmentalized socially, and there isn't enough interaction between communities. And we find this as a problem often, where that can actually lead to conflict more easily because people just don't know and can't empathize with each other. And interestingly, it was a fantastic opportunity for communities to get to know each other, because suddenly, Hindu communities were providing space for instance, Muslim communities to come into their temple, and they had to think about food, they had to think about places for worship. And so it really, very much helped in terms of social cohesion. And I think creating accountabilities. So, there needs to be a recognition that faith actors need to understand that they are also responsible. And particularly in societies where the state is quite weak or has insufficient resources, then the financial clout of faith communities is really important. And many faith communities wield considerable financial resources. And in the instance of Muslims, we have zakah, which is the tax, the poor tax, and other charitable means, and also Christian communities and other communities, are able to bring that to bear, and that's a considerable help where the state is already overburdened. So that's some of the learning from this was that that actually we needed to really work much more in partnership with faith networks, because this is a costly program. It's not, it needs to be done over several years. There's a lot involved in it in terms of training and equipping, because we provided things like boats in the case of flood risks, fire extinguishers in the case of urban fires, but also cooking equipment, and various other items, such as first aid, stretchers, signs to signpost people, and to have a meaningful impact. And this is now, I think it's not an option. We really have to do it in many societies. It really requires a lot of collaboration and a lot of fundraising. And what we realized was that actually in the future we should try to work more collaboratively with partners such as Caritas and other faith networks, where we can bring resources to bear to have a needed impact.
Thank you, Atallah. I think on that point about collaboration and networks, I think it's a good time to open back up for discussion. So Peter, thanks for we've got the Q&A open now, so do put any questions in there you have for Peter, for Novi, for Atallah. Peter, you've put your question in there from earlier on any challenges with faith actors. Novi or Atallah, did you have any questions or just things that you want people to be thinking about either in this discussion or as they take away from today?
Yeah, I think the point about interfaith collaboration is really important, because one of the challenges with working with faith communities is that they tend to work in silos because they're sort of mission driven, and we've got to a stage where actually it's becoming a real need to work together. So we need to break down barriers between ourselves. We need to have more partnership. And in the UK, obviously, we've had significant partnerships with Tearfund and Christian Aid and many other organizations, and that's critical. And I think we need to think about how we can convene and work together in the Global South more closely, as well.
Very good. I haven't seen any other questions come in on the chat yet, or on the QA. So Nobi, was there anything that you kind of wanted to send as like a sort of final message from your side, or question you wanted to leave with people to think about?
I think one of
Thank you so
the
much. Yeah.
Oh, Nobby, can you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it's good to hear from Atallah about the interface collaboration. And yeah, to be honest, in Japan, I mentioned the interface project, but on the ground collaboration is not taking place so often. So I wonder how it can be promoted and what can be a trigger for promoting that.
Yeah, for on the ground, that's very important as well. As I've said, we are planning on launching the Faith in DRR group on the GNDR platform. And that's where we want to continue this conversation, continue the commitments made by that statement, and really hold this work to account. And I think we can continue this discussion, and the need for collaboration has really come out from all sides here. And that last kind of challenge you added, Novi, I think links very well with your question, Petter. It's the challenge of not just at the multilateral international level of us all talking to each other, but it's also talking to the local level and bringing their voices, their leadership in from the grassroots, listening to them and being connected with them. So I think hopefully through this new group that we're forming, we'll be able to do that, and we'll be able to keep talking as well. Happy, how are we doing for time? Are we? Are we about to?
We still have about 8 to 10 minutes before
8
we
to 10
close
minutes.
up.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so we've now
There
got
are some questions
yes.
From Kennedy.
Kennedy, thank you for your question. Yes, are there any trainings that can be used to help people with PTSD and trauma? Does anyone want to speak a bit more about that sort of work? I mean, that's something that Tearfund has done a fair bit of work on. We have our program called Journey to Healing, that I'm happy to share the links for that. But does anyone else want to come in on PTSD and the work that Faith can do to help with that?
Yeah, I could add something. I mean, Islamic Relief did a 2-year research project looking at faith and trauma in disaster settings, and I mean, a lot emerged from it. But one of the main things I think was that where, as a humanitarian community, where we're failing is in terms of providing that sort of first tranche of psychosocial support, in terms of like sort of what I would say chaplaincy level support. And we found that actually what a lot of victim survivors needed was just someone to share their experience with and to share their concerns with. And that's not always recognized. We're an extremely secular, in Europe, the humanitarian community, unfortunately, has really sort of perversely discriminated against sort of religious involvement in disasters because of their fear of proselytization. But that has resulted in a lack of faith-based agencies providing that kind of support where they could. That's not universal, because in the United States, what they call disaster spiritual care is mainstreamed into responses at America level. But it's something that I think, and also a lot of the psychosocial support is very secular. And I know Tearfund has been an agency which is really working at pushing at this, and trying to integrate faith into that. But
thanks. Well, thanks, Atallah. I've shared a link in the chat and in the QA for some of our resources, Kennedy, that hopefully help a bit more on this as well. But I'm sure anyone on the panel is happy to be contacted on anything we've talked about, and certainly I and Atallah perhaps are happy to talk about some of that trauma work as well. Okay. Thanks, Atallah, for speaking on that. We appreciate it. I haven't seen any more questions come in on the chat. So perhaps maybe if we just start drawing a bit more to a close, and I go back round to each of the speakers just to kind of leave a sort of final message, as it were. So if we go back in the same order, Petter, do you want to come back in? Maybe you can answer your own question in a way. Is there one challenge you think we need to tackle?
I think it goes for it has to do with localization and dependency on aid and the relation between donors and receivers and all of this, because I think that secular donors in the global north has created an atmosphere where also faith actors in the global south and faith actors in the global north think that the language of faith is not very professional, and we need to regain that fluency in our own language of faith or theology, whatever you want to call it, because that's a wonderful asset when it comes to communicating with people and finding motivation, challenge behaviors, and bring security and development forth. So we have a superpower when it comes to communicating with these deeper values and our own spirituality, and we need to reconquer that language. So that's my last thing. Also, like to thank my colleague Lennart, who has been. I know he's listening, but he's been the one maybe mostly driving these issues from the SMC side. So Lennart Nordahl, I like to give a lot of credit to him also. Thank you.
Thank you, Petter, and yes, thank you, Lennart, for your work as well. Definitely worth the shout out there. Nobi, do you want to come in and share your final thoughts before we finish?
Yeah, thank you so much. As I have mentioned, other stakeholders are sometimes reluctant to collaborate with faith-based organizations in Japan. And in the meantime, Japanese society is weak against foreign pressure. So I'd like to share a lot of good cases or examples within the Japanese society so that they can raise awareness of the role of FBOs. And next year, APM's DRR will be held in Sendai, Japan. So I'd like to utilize that opportunity as well. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Great. And then last but not least, Atallah, to you for our final thoughts.
I was just wanted to raise an additional point to what Petter said, that often the challenge can be local governments and local government and its attitude towards religious communities. And sometimes they're nervous about it, sometimes they feel threatened by it. What's needed is a recognition and a building of confidence amongst governments about how they can build those partnerships and exploit the extraordinary social, spiritual, and financial and physical capital of local communities, and that it's a must in most circumstances now for them to be able to do that if they're going to fulfill their role.
Great, thank you, Atallah. Look at that, we're on time. I think Happy's nodding. I hope we're doing well. So thank you very much, everyone, for dialing into this discussion. I think it's been really rich. So many different sides to it, and I think really positive as well. So let's keep talking. Do look out on the platform for that new group. We will be in touch soon about hopefully more meetings we can have as that group to carry on this conversation. So if you've got more questions, you've got more ideas, you've got other local partners you want to bring in, please do come along to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonah.
Thank you, everyone. And yes, we will following up with the link to the community platform Faith in DRR groups Yeah. Thank you once again for Jonah and all speaker and the participants. And we will continue the conversations in the future. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.